Hello to everyone who is joining us live. Happy Friday. So glad that we finally managed to organize this and share with everyone else what it is that you do and what you're well known for, and all the wonderful things that you are offering in the retail world right now. Welcome.
Well, thank you. It's good to see you and happy Friday. I actually am more in shock that it's like the back end of June and like we're now in the second half, like the second half of this year is like really like cranking ahead, whether we're ready or not.
I know it's wild. It's half a year's gone. I don't know what happens, but we don't not gonna worry about it because it's gonna happen regardless what we think about it anyway. Michelle, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Absolutely. It's great to be here, and hi everyone. I'm excited to dive into comments and chat with you all later on as well. Easiest way to think of me is I'm someone who is just obsessed with innovation. I'm like a million years old. You know, 20 plus years ago, I was living in the US where I've spent most of my adult life, and I built one of the first online-only wine companies in the early 2000s, back in a time when it was really weird to ship wine and sell wine online and not have a big fancy tasting room. And so I kind of reinvented the category there as a young female in the industry at a time when it was dominated by a lot of, more traditional older men and families. And I created innovations like the world's first ever touch trademark to create a really unique unboxing experience for people who were receiving wine in the middle of America versus coming to Napa Valley in California. Flash forward, I spent a lot of my career in sports and entertainment, and I would work at bigger agencies like IMG or Octagon. I'd bring things to our talent who are all athletes or high profile celebrities. And I would present things like Facebook. And our agents would say things like, absolutely not. It was new and scary. Back then, we didn't know what social media would do. But I realized at that point, I'm someone who really gets excited about the commercial opportunities of what shiny new technology can do beyond the magic trick. How can this really drive value in either growing your customer base, increasing your customer spend, LTV, and I'm happy to say within a few months of educating our agents, our talent did in fact get into Facebook and later Instagram. I think we all know how that narrative has played out. So I think, in terms of, the past, few decades, whether it was with e-commerce, apps, blockchain, and the metaverse, I've just really found myself at the center of constantly learning what's new and what's useful to businesses, whether it's been Fortune 500 companies in fashion and beauty, or entertainment and media companies like Netflix. And so I think this is no different. We're now in that next era of what innovation looks like. And it was during my time working with a number of Fortune 500s a few years ago that I kept hearing the same question from CMOs, which was, how do we urgently connect to Gen Z? This is not just going to be a step change as a demographic for their buying behavior. It's a whole new mindset for how they're thinking about their relationship with brands across every industry. And so the first thing I do then is really dive deep into the behaviors of that generation. What are Gen Z doing? And this one signal just really stood out to me, which was the fact that Gen Z spend 58 billion hours every year creating digital products. So what they're doing is they're using anything from Photoshop and Adobe to Midjourney, ChatGPT, and they're mashing up their favorite brand IP to create anything. It could be a Gucci jet or a Nike themed BMW car, or in the less desirable instances, a Lego meth lab. We've seen it all. And that kind of engagement is exciting on one side of the coin because you realize this is a consumer group that is so passionate about the brands they love that they're willing to spend their time and their money inside these third-party platforms, creating products and content to share on their own social platforms or create gaming skins. But on the other side of the coin, it's a total misuse of brand IP, and the brands are missing out on any ability to capture data, to monetize it, or even engage with it. And so my company Zillions was really born from the idea of we want to capture this existing behavior and find ways that it can deliver real value to any brand, whether you're a consumer product, you're in sports, you're in media, you've got a passionate audience that wants to connect with you. Let's build the tools to enable that.
Data is a powerful thing because who would have thought that this is how much time they're spending creating this digital product? Well, first of all, you look amazing for being a million years old. I'd love to get the phone number of your nutritionist and personal trainer who I was looking after you. That'd be amazing. Thank you. Maybe after the call. But going back to that digital product again. So now we moved on from Facebook and Instagram being that innovative platforms because everyone just uses it every day as it was given and if they were born with it. And now we just live in this never stop to upgrade the AI world. And the upgrades, literally, it feels like they're coming out of our ears every single day. And everyone feels overwhelmed. And well, I do. And I don't feel like I'll ever catch up. Not that I'm chasing it, but staying on top of things that are kind of useful. So AI is many people think right now in marketing and CMOs it's a creation tool, but you believe that there is a big opportunity for AI, and you call it consumer intelligence. What
Mm-hmm.
do you mean by that?
Oh, I mean, I think we're so used to looking at data on the surface from a dimension of, what people buy, when they buy, that kind of very transactional information, and that's been, of course, hugely valuable. But we've never known preferential data. We've never known the why. Why do certain people like certain things in certain cities at certain times? And why does it change today versus tomorrow? So this idea of uncovering a dimension of preferential data can really be unlocked through AI. And one of the things we did with Zillions was to give people the tools to get access to that preferential data. When you allow people to create, which is essentially what AI has completely opened the gates on for people. You have an idea, you can create anything, whether it's a financial model or a work of art. You can create so quickly, and what that tells people who are looking at the data behind that is a whole new source of intelligence that can be used to build your businesses smarter, to sell and to market and promote your products in a whole new way. So if we look at the idea of even just the creative side of AI, when you're inviting people to create with you as a brand, yes, it's fun. The engagement is off the charts, and people are having a great time on the front end in this creative playground that you're offering them. On the back end, every keyword, every way that they're engaging with you to create with you is unlocking a gold mine of data. We call it zillions of insights that you've just never had access to before as they are going through their individual consumer creative process. I mean, fashion is an obvious one where that kind of unlock is so literally valuable to see the trends and the real-time signals of what people are creating, in one city versus another, from season to season, from hour to hour.
This is incredible. I remember in fashion, there are buyers who go overseas and get inspirations and bring samples and then recreate their lines and doing the photo shoots and doing campaigns. I think this is all moving on from there now. So the whole co-creation space and the engagement with the consumer in real time is very powerful. I remember a month ago you showed me the Gucci example, and that was unbelievable to see how much participation they actually get from that in that co-creation and the engagement space as well.
Absolutely.
So brands have relied on surveys for many years and focus groups and social listening for years. Uh, what is broken, do you think, with this approach today?
Oh, it's just full of friction. It's slow. It relies on, a very low reward to get people time, which is their most valuable, asset. So those kinds of traditional focus group surveys, research, channels are just not able to scale. And they also rely on ineffective data. You're having to rely on people being truthful and honest. And it's not that people are lying or misleading you, it's that they often don't know what they want. I think Steve Jobs was, so advanced in his thinking. Why would we ever ask the customer what they want? They don't know. That's our job. And so when you've got the ability to have something that allows people to behave, they don't have to answer the questions. You can just observe and get real accuracy out of actual behaviors than contrived answers. So I think simply put, scale, speed, and the ability to see real time at a micro level, regionally through various demographics, it allows you to cut up the data in thousands of more ways that are probably more useful to you than traditional surveys and focus groups.
That's very powerful. So, can you walk us through a practical example of how a brand might involve customers in shaping the product campaign or customer experience?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of my favorites, and it's the simplest one that everyone sees the benefits on of our customers, is just the actual attribute level preference data. So it's a big fancy way of just saying, what do people actually like? So in fashion, for example, WGSN, they're the most expensive, comprehensive reports on what's going to trend, what colors, and what season. The problem is it's not taking into account that people often find those colors that are trending don't suit their skin tone. So yes, that particular shade of beige or lime neon green is hot and everyone loves it on Billie Eilish and it's absolutely trending. It will be on every influencer's social grid. But when you go into the store and you try it on, it looks good on about 12% of people. So that over index on investing your budget to manufacture the hottest color of the season is going to work against you. So that kind of attribute level preference data, when people are creating with you, you're going to see if they actually like that color for themselves. They're going to see what patterns, textures, silhouettes they're spending their time to create with your brand. And then you can really pull that information to see what's real versus what's just a trend based on what the industry has told you. You can also pull micro audience data. So let's imagine you've got, as a fashion brand, you've invited your audience to come and create, a dress or a look for the season. Once you've done that, we've seen thousands, tens of thousands of people creating tens of thousands of outputs, creations, very quickly. You can see what keywords are trending. Maybe it's silver, maybe it's metallic, maybe it's something really obscure like sunset. And then you can pull all of those member profiles of everyone who used the word sunset and create a really personalized, at scale marketing ad or email campaign. And now you've got a real conversation going with somebody based on something that they already are interested in. So that kind of preference thread allows brands to be smarter with how they're communicating with their audiences and give them a reason to feel like it's a personal outreach versus just this kind of retargeting trend-based algorithm.
This is very true. As you were saying about the color, I was thinking when the autumn winter season started that we are in right now, most retailers in their windows, all we've seen is burgundy and brown. So that was very clear that that was predicted 12 months ago that this will be the color of the season. And this is what it looks like everywhere, absolutely across the board. So they can pull what the brands can pull the insights from these core creation and co-engagement. It's not just the color, but this is personal preferences across their style, their body shape, their communication preference, and potentially the social platform engagement as well.
Well, and one of the things to note about that is brands keep playing by this old playbook that they're trying to gain more customers from the entire industry audience versus you're going to have more success if you're attracting your existing community. So if you know that brown and burgundy is trending for the industry, that's cool. That's great to know. But if your audience always loves navy and mustard yellow, then do that. Get every single person in your community so excited about something that you know they already love versus having to spend and throw insane amounts of money marketing and convincing them that no, 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 this is the trend. So it kind of changes the direction of instead of pushing things on people, you're pulling them in because it's products that they are looking for and they want.
Yes, and it's a more curated experience. Therefore, it will drive more engagement. And to your point, is the high frequency of shopping, the trust that you build with that particular brand, and ultimately it leads to a better LTV. So,
Mhm.
tick, tick, tick.
Yes.
So, many brands, and this is my favorite subject, are under pressure to make decisions faster. And how can AI help brands validate ideas before committing significant budgets? Because as we know, marketing and digital budgets are the largest expense line on anyone's P&L. So, what is your view on that?
Yeah, I kind of look at this from two sides. Like one, the biggest challenge, as you said, is it's so expensive to be wrong. You're launching new products, you're manufacturing them, the costs are going up, supply chain regulations are changing at the whims of various people, and your marketing costs are astronomical. And so I kind of like pull the thread on the marketing a little bit because right now you either throw a ton of money at the problem and now you're competing against the huge giants of your industry, and it's really hard to topple. The giants are just immovable at this point. Their budgets can't be competed with. So you have to get smarter if you're not one of the giants. So what do you do in marketing? Well, across the board, no matter what industry you're in, what product you have, creators and ambassadors are a huge line item. You need to get smarter as a brand for how you're using your creators and your ambassadors. It's not good enough anymore to send them product and have unboxing, content and experiences. And one of the core reasons for that is your ambassadors and your creators often have larger audiences than you do as the brand. So why not create a more meaningful and authentic engagement with them and tap into more of their audience? So if you have a tool, which is what Zillions is, to allow people to co-create with you, and you have your creators and ambassadors co-creating product, they don't need to have sketches and design teams. They can simply type in a few words. That's the beauty of our tool is you just type in an idea. It could be pastel cargo perforated mesh. Like it could not even make sense. But because it's trained on your brand, it will know exactly what to do with it. And you're getting two things. One, great preference data from the taste makers of your industry, being the creators who are typing in those prompts. Two, content that those creators can now share as a really compelling story that's so authentic. Hey everyone, I'm so excited. I'm creating my favorite look with XYZ brand. Here's what I would do for the season. What do you think? And now within seconds, the brand can see exactly what that creator's millions of followers think and decide how to use that information for their actual design team and to put the most successful concepts into production. And they've already built kind of that pre-launch marketing campaign for no extra cost. So thinking about how you streamline speed to decisions, speed to your marketing and promotion, and then the accuracy of what you actually put into production so that you get more bestsellers and fewer things that are sitting in your warehouse sale for later this year.
I feel like you're taking me at least 5 years into the future right now,
I'm
coming from the
excited.
fashion world,
I think
knowing the whole process.
I just think we all win with smarter decisions like this. You can't grow your business today just by making more stuff. You have to make more bestsellers that are guaranteed. That's how you're going to win in the product game. It's just not a production problem that you're going to win by scaling that.
And this is why I hope that we're definitely talking about the near future, how this process is going to eventuate. So the first party data, you touched on that without labeling it necessarily. I'm a big proponent of that, and I'm a big supporter of focusing on the first party data. What do you think is becoming even more important for the brands right now?
As a general theme, they need to stop guessing and they need to start knowing. So that's across everything. I think co-creation helps you do that. I think the other piece of it is brands have really spent so much time um, working with creators, ambassadors, third-party, partners. They've lost the direct connection to their actual audience. So I would argue most brands don't even know who their customer really is. They know
I agree
transaction
with it.
stuff. They know the transaction piece of it, but they don't know anything else. And without that data, they have no loyalty. You are like surviving on fumes and the whims of an audience that is more fickle than ever. Yes, you're hot today, but they might hate you in 30 seconds and like legitimately hate you. And it's really hard to get them back. So you need to find a way as a brand to bring that audience back into your house, your website, your digital ecosystem. One of the first things we did with our first use case was with Disney and with Gucci, and the the data point that really stood out to us there was the amount of time people spent on the brand's website. So currently today, average brand websites can attract your attention for about 50 seconds, maybe a minute tops. If you've got a minute, that's great. That's as much as you're going to get. When we invited people to co-create, whether it was a bag with Gucci or a pair of sneakers with Disney, the average amount of time people spent on the brand website skyrocketed to 11 minutes. So you've got 11 minutes now where you've got a captive audience in your house, on your website, where you can get smarter about how you engage with them as they're creating. That AI chatbot can be put to work in a more personal way. Things like, hey, Anna, we love that you've just created your fourth pair of sneakers. We think these colors, A, B, and C, are so cool together too. You've just unlocked free shipping for the next 24 hours. You've just unlocked access to shop a collection that we're not launching until next week. You'll be the first to see it. You've just unlocked an invite to our VIP Creator Circle event that's happening at the Westfield this weekend. You can really just think about how you are personalizing a conversation that actually drives loyalty. And loyalty is, of course, as everyone in marketing will know, is the key to your LTV. You want to have a long, happy, healthy relationship with your customer. You need loyalty.
I agree. I think LSKD do a very good job at creating that community and maintaining it because they are raving fans, and I don't think LSKD needs to push their marketing campaigns too hard because their fans act as their marketing agents and do it for absolutely nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and just because they recognize them as well and they personalize and curate the experience. And I really love the fact that you touched on the dwell time. 11 minutes is insane,
Yeah.
and you can do so much in that 11 minutes. And I think and I hope that the brands do track that metric as one of the top five metric in e-commerce for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very powerful. So thank you for mentioning that. I love that. What are the biggest mistakes brands make when implementing AI, in your opinion?
I think we're still a little bit new. So I almost want to commend brands who are experimenting because they need to. But I think the mistake they're making is AI for AI's sake versus AI as a tool to solve a problem. So brands need to get really clear on the problem they want to solve. We want to drive more email signups. We want to shorten the decision making period. We want to X, and then use the right AI tool to address specifically that problem. Right now, there's not a catch all that just AI is going to do a bunch of stuff and it's just going to make your business better. Pick the metric and then find the right tool to solve that.
Yeah, absolutely. Pick the metric, execute it in a timely fashion, move on.
Exactly. Yes.
If a fashion is just starting its AI journey, where should they focus first to create the most value?
I guess it goes back to what I just said. You're going to hate this answer, but you need to know what your problem is first. I think you've got smaller fashion brands who are hungry to stand out. They need to leapfrog over their bigger competitors. So, what can they do that's not just throwing money to compete with a budget that they are never going to be able to match? It's not an impressions battle anymore. It's an engagement, relationship building battle. So, the AI tools that a smaller brand should be using should all focus on getting to know the customer and getting as much data as possible so that you can form those early relationships that differentiate you from the bigger brands. Because the bigger brands are like swimming in data. They've got nothing but data, and that's actually also a problem for them. What data is most useful? How can they create a one-to-one relationship after all these years of just being transaction based and promotional based? That consumer has now been trained for many years to look for the Black Friday sale, to look for the end of financial year sale. So those brands are faced with a different set of problems, which is how can we make our customers love us in a totally different way? And the metrics to driving your conversion, increasing your AOV are going to be different on either side of that. So there's just not a one solution kind of opportunity here. It depends on where you already are in the maturing stages of your business and your brand.
Well, with larger businesses, I agree, they do swim in data, but it doesn't mean that they interrogate it in a way that benefits their customer. And
Yes.
I see it all the time. In smaller businesses, I think they have a competitive advantage because there are lesser people to jump through the hoops to get any approval. So they usually know what good looks like and where painful moments are and how to resolve them in a very fast fashion too. But yes, either or. I think I agree. This is not the quick approach because it's very curated approach per brand and per business and per their cohort of customers that they want to attract, and they're currently shopping with them as well.
One of the advantages that smaller brands have right now is their ability to act faster. Big brands have got huge diligence and compliance teams, and they need enterprise solutions. And you've got a lot of new AI capabilities bubbling up, new features launching every day, which means that it takes longer for big brands to be able to integrate them into their system. Smaller brands can actually take advantage right now, talk to AI companies, and test a 3-month pilot. And there's a lot of them that are like offering exclusive opportunities to test features. I think that there's kind of this, if you're hungry and you are, the kind of team that's looking for a creative way to stand out, it's kind of like you're in a candy shop of ideas and opportunities right now. Like, go meet with every AI company you can. Talk to me. Us, others. I know so many great tools that targeting different problems, and the new features being rolled out are really exciting. And you might be able to launch those features faster than your bigger competitors, and you'll look like the innovator in your industry.
Well said. And can I tell you, this is brilliant advice because I personally think it's exciting times and for us to innovate and challenge ourselves and disrupt the status quo and do things differently. Because what's the alternative?
Yeah.
Uh, there is none anymore.
Yeah.
If AI was a sidekick, even maybe late last year, right now, this is not an option. It's here,
It's
and
not.
it's not going to go away.
No, we did a pilot for a fashion brand last year. They had 68 people on their email list. So we were testing some new features for us. It was valuable to have this kind of pilot where we could see, what's working, what's not, kind of for our dev team to kind of tweak and whatever, the back end of the workflow. What we saw though was within 5 days, they had over 1,000 email signups, and it cost them nothing. and they looked at all of their ad spend through traditional social media paid posts. It's like, hey, new collection is launching, sign up to get 10% off. That did nothing. And yet the, hey, come co-create with us. We want to see what you would make, drove all the traffic to their website and drove significant boost to their email signups to build the start of a list for them. As a brand new brand, that costs them nothing versus the hundreds of dollars a day being thrown at Meta for ads that were just ineffective.
And also the time that takes to create that, and humans' time too
Yeah, true.
to curate it. So, looking ahead into a very near future, I'm not going to even ask you what's going to happen 3 years from now because God knows. What do you think the relationship between brands and customers will look like in, let's just say, the next 12 months?
Yeah, I have some very specific thoughts on this because I'm already seeing it. I spend a lot of time over in the US, and I know that we kind of like follow through and see what happens in Australia with that kind of early signal. I think that the in-store experience is going to become even more important. We've kind of seen, we went through that I guess, phase where everybody started in store. Then we had e-commerce. So brands had to make the decision of, am I willing to lose in-store traffic because I'll boost online traffic? And then that online traffic shifted from websites into social media channels. And so it was still very much, digitally native, and it lived there. What we're seeing, though, is a huge interest from Gen Z, Gen Alpha to come back into the store. In fact, shopping malls in the US that were ghost towns are now being revitalized, and brands are popping up with new experiences to bring people in. Now, what they're doing is different from the in-store experience we had 10, 15 years ago. We're now creating a physical and digital experience inside the store. And where I see it going is every brand at some point should have a create bar inside their physical storefront. That create bar is a place where, yes, you come in, you can shop products that are already there, or now come and have a seat at the design table with us. What would you design? What should our products look like? What should next season's collection look like? And to have that engaged audience with live screens. We were just at NRF in Singapore, and we had people do exactly this. We invited them to come and create Louis Vuitton sneakers, create your dream office with KPMG, or create sports jerseys and jackets with the LA Rams NFL team. And we had live screens up so that as people were creating, you could see what they were, coming up with. And in real time, as people walked by, they would vote for their favorite. And we're getting all these keywords, we're getting all this email capture. We're now getting preference data of the votes and the systems of, the top scoring designs. And people are staying, they're in there. So think about your store as the new website in terms of that dwell time. If you've got people coming in, they feel like they're authentically a part of your inner circle, designing with you, whether it's content or products. They're staying, they're sitting, they're sharing their content, they're engaging with others in the store. It now becomes a clubhouse. And clubhouses have something called communities. And if you've got now a living, breathing community existing inside your store, you are so set for success. That's how you win in the next 12 months.
Well said. And there is a reason why clubhouses have existed for such a long time, right? I saw your NRF photos and they were amazing. I think we need to drop the link to your post about that experience in the comment section as well. It
Absolutely.
was
And
it looked very engaging and very creative.
oh, thank you. It was. We had a lot of happy people. They all felt good about what they did. And actually, you can, on that post, people can even create themselves. So even if you didn't make it to NRF, I'll be excited to see what people start creating.
Oh, brilliant. If you can drop it in comments, that will be amazing.
I will.
Michelle, it's been such a pleasure. You are such a pioneer and innovator, even though, I mean, for someone who have existed for a million years, I'm not surprised. And we can learn so much from you. And I'm sure that everyone who have joined us today and will be watching this recording get a lot out of it. And thank you for sharing all the practical tips and your expertise. And we absolutely aligned, and you are on point of everything what is happening right now as well. I appreciate this, and thank you everyone who have joined us.